So step number one is for me to get to the bottom there.
Waiting for this day for so long.
One of the first tags of our mast stuff off. This is for the disco ball. It goes on top of the mast.
We started off by seizing the cap shrouds to the spreader tips with some Dyneema.
So what I start off by doing is just putting a loop in this Dyneema line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bury this through the line and then feed it back in and bury the tail end inside the line to get it loop. So almost like a splice. So you pretty much splice it, just straight splice. And your bury is 50 times, or on structural stuff you can go 72, but generally 50 times the diameter of the length is how far you want to bury the line. So there's my little eye, and now all I got to do is just use it as a starting point. Take 1, 2, pull it 2.5 meters and do the other side. So I just finished up the second one, but I think I'm gonna have to redo the first one because the second one came out way better. So see, that's a lot nicer. So we went over, then did a couple of wraps, seized it on that side and seized it on this side, and that's much better. So I'm gonna redo that side.
We then jacked up our boat so that we could inspect and prime the bottom of the keels.
So we've lifted up the boat and we've put it on some blocks, and what it is to do is to get under these keels right here and clean everything out underneath there. Doesn't look too bad, I've cleaned some of it already. We want to get every last bit of that, and our water tanks sit inside here, inside these keels. So we want to get all of that cleaned up nicely, see if we need to give it an epoxy coat, if there's any cracks or damage, get that repaired. But I highly doubt there'll be any cracks, so we just clean it up, give it a couple of coats of epoxy, and then put some anti-fouling underneath there already, because we're gonna put quite a few coats of anti-fouling under there. This is probably one of the parts of the boat that never really get cleaned up, so let's do that. So step number one is for me to get to the bottom there. 60 grit sandpaper, orbital sander, get a mask. There's a bit of anti-fouling still on there, and take it down to bare gel coat and see if we got any surprises. We've got the boat jacked up. See over there and over there. That's just I think it's a 4.5 ton. That's a 15 ton bottle jack. And I've got the boat propped obviously, but when we were doing the bulges, there was one area that I was suspecting that something might be wrong over there, because I saw an epoxy patch, but it was really badly done. We're taking out that patch, I drilled a couple of holes, I filled it with epoxy, and then I did a number of layers of glass. I think I did about 6 layers of glass on the inside, and then we covered the bulges up again. But I made a note of it, and I said once we jack up the boat and we're near the end, I need to check under both holes and just grind them down completely, or actually just sanded them down, and then look for any problems if someone had beached it before, maybe hit a rock or something like that. Not funny enough, but yeah, like funny enough, we found a spot where, and it's the exact same spot that I did the repair on the inside. I found the bottom side repair and it wasn't done really well. Didn't even bother taking the gel coat off when they did the repair, and the repair was done precisely the same. It was done with epoxy. It appears to be epoxy, but it looks like like a dog's breakfast, and that's where the hole is. So I've grinded out all of the nasty stuff that was in there, and we're going to do layer and layer, probably about 12 layers of bi-ax on top of each other until we've got the thickness desired. And then we'll do any fairing. We're also going to bring it around and lap it over onto here and lap it onto the other side. I've still got to grind it clean on this side, make sure that everything is nicely done up, and I'll start from small in the middle and I'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger until we wrap everything right around.
Ricky also repaired a chip that we had.
Okay, so our first 6 layers on, but you can see there's still a dent on the inside there. and that's the layers that I'm doing first, is the dent. So there's 6 in there now. I'm going to put another 6 and then we should be level, and then I'll do our wrap overs which come up here to the top. I just wrap the last layer just above there. What it is just to help support those layers to stay in. And the next ones I'll just build up. So we need to build up from small to big, and then the final one will wrap all the way up to here, ensuring that that's a super strong repair and that we won't have to worry about that area anymore. Over there I just had a very small chip. Actually the peel ply makes it look like a big one. There's absolutely a tiny chip there along the bottom edge of the gel coat, so I just put some epoxy in there. It's epoxy fill, and I just put some peel ply and I'll sand it off afterwards and get some epoxy primer over that. Let me show you what that epoxy filler looks like for those of you that don't know. So the epoxy filler is pretty much that. It's just epoxy resin, and then I add some fume silica, Cabasol or Cabasol, it's the same stuff, and then I add some cotton flocks to it. The cotton flocks gives us a little bit of flexibility, and the fume silica gives us rigidity and allows it not to sag. It'll stay in place. And we just put peel ply over it.
It was an indescribable feeling, finally having our mast up, a day we thought would almost never come, and it was finally happening.
Originally when we dropped the boat off, the rigging guys were here, the crane riggers, and we rigged the boat, put it up that it was nice and level, perfect. Now obviously I've been doing all this jacking to do the repairs under the keels, and there we're slightly out now. So the only place that I can find that's perfectly flat are these areas right here. So what I'm going to do is, I've taken a measurement up top between the two hulls, which is on the track. I suspect the track to be pretty level, because I mean the beam that goes across there is very level, is pretty straight. So we true like that. What I need to check is what's the condition of the two hulls, so if we're leaning forwards or backwards. And the reason I need to do that is for the mast. Before we start adjusting the mast, make sure that this is level. So when we do the mast adjustment, to make sure that everything there is perfectly level, get the boat level, which means the base on the mast will be level, which means then, because the base is mounted level, so, and then obviously if the boat's level, and then the mast has to be level. So, and obviously as long as there's no gaps on the mast, it should be perfect. Stick it out there. Okay, so me and Simone, we're gonna jack up this boat hopefully for the last time. We need to add about yay much to the front to get it perfectly level. We'll recheck the levels again after jacking it up. We've got a bottle jack on that side and a dolly jack on that side, and all the back's perfectly level, so the two hulls perfectly level, and all we're going to do is just bring up the bow.
Since our mast is up, we can now focus on tensioning our rigging.
And since yesterday we put the mast up, we're eager to get one of the first tags of our mast stuff off. Take it off, baby. Take it off. Okay, so the mast is up, stays in place. The forestay, we just got a temporary one that I rigged up with Dyneema. That's going to change obviously to a solid forestay with our furler. And we've got our rig just on, but everything's relatively loose. I'm just going to line it up quickly. I've got the boat level, and I'm going to get the mast straight and true, and then I'll start cap shrouds and then intermediates while lower backstay, and then do our main. Get the mast as true as we can now, which means I need to get the mast as straight as possible. The only thing that holds it perfectly straight on our setup is our cap shroud. So we need to get a cap shroud tension, and then we get our lowest tension. The mast needs to go backwards. We're going to do cap shroud, adjust that it's perfectly straight, and then we'll do tension the bottom one, tension the front one, and then take it from there. So you either run a frictionless loop or anything, but basically what you want to get is just a direct line from there to your winch, and then you're cranking it around the winch.
We provisionally tensioned the rig, and once we're in the water again, we'll retension. We were pretty excited to see our beautiful deadeyes that Luke made us in action. We even got our own personalized South African flag deadeyes.
The master's on the ground. Obviously we had taken out all the dodgy old lines that we had. This is still one of the good ones, but we left it in way too short. It's only about 10 meters, so this is going up to about halfway up the mast at the moment, and there's the new one that we got. So we're going to pull that through, and this is for that inner jib. It's a tiny little jib that we got there. We got an 8mm on it, overkill, but we went one size over on everything. Just because we are cruising boats and we just want a little bit more reliability out of it. They fit perfectly in the sheaves, so we're going to be fine running them. And yeah, so let's get these lines up there, get some new lines on, and check some of the pretty colors we got. This is the current situation we got. We got a whole bunch of cables, and that's all our mast cables coming in, and we need to take them into the instruments. I just pulled them out, but I'm going to put them in now and then start running everything into there and tidying all of this up.
So Ricky's connecting up all our lights, our nav lights and steam lights and
Disco light. This is for the disco ball. It goes on top of the mast.
so when we feel like having a party, we just switch it on.
Yeah, it tells you where the party is at. Points in the party direction.
Ricky ran all our lighters through our mast and down into
just
like a little funnel.
Little gland.
And through there, into the hole up there, and then he puts it up through into the back there, and then connects it to our electrical panel. If you'd like to see how Ricky does that, there's a link up top of how you can connect wires to your electrical panel. Or I'll link it down below, either one.
So one of the things we've got to do today is install a little switch panel. So on non-critical items like these lights that go in the cockpit and the aft light on the swim platform, I'm just going to run it from the main panel that's inside with one power supply on a like a 5 amp breaker over there, and I'll supply it into these here. And what this will do is just give me control of all these lights on the outside here. And so like this panel being outside here will make it really nice that we can switch on the night lights, our navigation lamps inside here, we're having the swim deck light outside here. So cut all of that out and then just stick it in like that.
All our mast lights have been connected and we can now wrap them up in some spray.
Hey guys, so exciting times coming to the end. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and share it with your friends.
And what else was there, dude?
What else?
Ricky's bad at this. Subscribe below if you haven't already, and if you'd like to support our production, you can click in any of the links down below. Adios!
Yo.
Stay tuned till next week where we add our 2 new forestays and check out our sails.